At first, no one thought that day would turn into something special. The shooting location for the Vtype 2026 project had been prepared since early morning. Lights stood neatly in place, cameras were tested over and over, and the staff and cameramen readied themselves for a packed schedule as usual. It was a major project, of course, but the Korean entertainment world is accustomed to working with big names. There were no excessive expectations.
No dramática anticipación.
That is, until Kim Taehyung stepped into the room. He arrived without commotion, without a flashy entourage, without the big star aura that usually fills a set even before the cameras start rolling. Taehyung came as himself, calm, polite, and almost quiet. And yet, from that very quietness, something began to shift. The staff and cameramen of the Vtype 2026 project slowly realized that the day would not unfold like any other shoot. From the moment he stepped onto the set, Taehyung did not immediately stand at the center of the room or wait for instructions. He walked slowly, his eyes sweeping across the space, observing the reflection of light on the floor, the corners of the walls, and the shadows cast by the studio lights. One cameraman later recalled the moment with a small smile. He didn't ask what he was supposed to do. It was like he was listening to the room first. And that was the first impression that lingered. Kim Taehyung was not merely there to be photographed. He was there to understand. When the cameras were finally ready and the lights fully turned on, Taehyung did not pose right away. He paused for a moment,
Took a slow breath.
his shoulders relaxed slightly, his posture adjusting to the surrounding atmosphere. There were no grand movements, no exaggerated expressions. Yet when the camera shutters began to click, every shift in expression felt complete, fluid, and deeply intentional. A staff member from the Vtype 2026 project shared, "We're used to directing models. That day, we ended up following Taehyung's rhythm instead." What left the staff and cameramen in awe was not only the powerful visual results, but the way Taehyung commanded the space. He knew when to move, and more importantly, he knew when to be still. In a world of photoshoots often filled with rapid instructions and time pressure, Taehyung introduced a different rhythm, slower, deeper, and profoundly sincere. A senior cameraman who had worked in the industry for many years said, "There are people who are great because they're always in motion. But Taehyung is different. He's great because he understands that silence can speak too." In the middle of the Vtype 2026 shoot, while the set was being rearranged and some of the staff were busy adjusting the lights, Taehyung didn't step away like most models would. Instead, he approached the camera monitor. He studied the shots closely, not to evaluate himself, but to feel the story behind the images. He asked simple yet incisive questions about the mood, about the emotion, about what the project wanted to convey to its audience. "If we stay in this moment just a little longer, it might feel deeper," he said softly, according to one staff member. It wasn't an instruction, nor a demand,
Just an observation.
Yet when the suggestion was tried, everyone could see the difference. The resulting photos felt more alive, more honest, as if they were holding a breath within them. From that moment on, the atmosphere on set changed. There was no more sense of rushing, no pressure to chase a certain number of shots. Everyone worked with the same awareness. They were creating a moment that mattered. It felt like we were making art, not just content. One Vtype 2026 staff member said with clear admiration. There was one moment that people talked about most after the shoot ended. When the camera was ready, the lights perfectly set, and everyone waiting, Taehyung stood still. He didn't move. He didn't pose. Seconds passed in silence. No one told him to do anything. And when the camera shutter finally clicked, that image became one of the strongest results of the entire project. He knew, a cameraman said quietly, he knew that even stillness could be a statement. The day ended without loud applause or cheers. Instead, it was the warm silence that lingered in the room that served as the most honest proof. The staff packed up the equipment with a different feeling in their hearts. The lights were turned off one by one. Taehyung thanked everyone one by one, sincerely. Before leaving, he gave a small bow, a simple gesture that left a deep impression. After he left, the room didn't immediately return to its usual noise. Some staff members remained seated in silence. Finally, a cameraman spoke up. "We thought this would be just another shoot. Turns out, we just worked with someone who truly understands the meaning of a moment." For many in the industry, this experience wasn't surprising. Park Seo Joon, a renowned actor who has long been close friends with Taehyung, once shared that Taehyung's aura in front of the camera is extraordinary. In a past interview, Park Seo Joon said, "Taehyung has his own way in front of the camera. He doesn't try to look impressive. He's just there, and somehow, the camera falls in love with him." That remark now feels even more real through the Vtype 2026 project. Taehyung is not just a global idol or a visual icon. He is a visual artist who understands space, rhythm, and silence. He understands that art is not always about standing out the most, but about being fully present. One Vtype 2026 staff member concluded their story with a simple yet meaningful line. "Working with Kim Taehyung reminded us why we fell in love with this job in the first place." And perhaps that is Taehyung's greatest strength, not only leaving behind beautiful images, but also a feeling that lingers long after the camera is turned off. The conversation about Kim Taehyung did not end when the Vtype 2026 project officially wrapped. In fact, after the shoot day had passed, small stories began to circulate among the staff and cameramen, shared quietly from person to person in nearly the same tone, soft, respectful, and slightly incredulous. Not because of any grand gestures he made, but because of how he didn't do very much, and yet still left such a profound impact. One member of the art team revealed that working with Taehyung made the entire crew more aware of small details that often go unnoticed. "We became more sensitive to light, to the distance between movements, even to pauses," they said. In the fast-paced entertainment industry, pauses are often seen as wasted time. But with Taehyung, pauses became an essential part of the creative process. Without ever lecturing, he taught that silence is not emptiness. It is space for feeling. The cameraman felt the same way. Normally, they have to work extra hard to capture the best moments, anticipating movements, chasing expressions. But with Taehyung, it felt reversed. It was as if the moment already existed, and our job was simply to capture it, one cameraman said. He added that Taehyung possesses an exceptionally strong body awareness, as though he instinctively knows how the camera breathes with him. What made it even more striking was that all of this happened without arrogance or dominance. Taehyung never placed himself above the staff. He didn't speak much, but when he did, his words were always precise. He listened attentively, nodded gently when staff explained concepts, and responded with empathy. This attitude made the set feel equal, free of rigid hierarchies between the star and the people behind the scenes. Some staff members even admitted they felt braver expressing their ideas. "Because he genuinely listens," said a junior crew member. "It feels safe to share." This is rare in large-scale projects, where pressure and expectations often silence quieter voices. But on the Vtype 2026 project, thanks to Taehyung's presence, everyone felt like part of the same story. Park Seo Joon's name came up again in casual staff conversations. Some recalled his old interviews about Taehyung. "Now I understand what Park Seo Joon meant," one cameraman said with a soft laugh. Taehyung's talent in front of the camera really isn't ordinary. It's not a talent that shouts. It's a talent that whispers, but carries far. Park Seo Joon once said that Taehyung has a natural instinct for understanding the camera as an artistic medium, not merely a documentation tool. And the Vtype 2026 project seemed to be living proof of that statement. Taehyung didn't see the camera as something to conquer, but as a dialogue partner. There was a subtle, almost invisible exchange, yet it was strongly felt in every final image. Interestingly, after the project ended, Taehyung did not leave behind an image of someone distant or untouchable. Some staff recalled small moments when he took the time to chat casually, ask if they were tired, or sincerely praise the team's work. Simple gestures that might seem trivial, but meant a great deal to those working behind the scenes. "He made us feel seen," one staff member said warmly. "Not as background, but as people." And perhaps that is where Kim Taehyung's true strength lies. He doesn't just understand visual art, he understands the people around him. He knows that a work of art is not born from a single individual, but from the convergence of many energies in one space and one moment. His awareness of space is not only physical, but emotional. When the final results of the Vtype 2026 project were eventually revealed, many staff members smiled quietly. They recognized those moments. They remembered the silence behind the scenes. They remembered the seconds when Taehyung stood still, when no one spoke, yet everyone felt the same thing. Those photos were not merely beautiful, they carried feeling within them. In an entertainment industry often obsessed with sensation and speed, Kim Taehyung's presence served as a gentle reminder that art does not always have to be loud to be powerful. That charisma does not always need to be displayed. That silence, when understood, can speak louder than 1,000 dramatic poses. As the project came to a close, one Vtype 2026 staff member summed up the experience with a simple sentence: "We didn't just photograph Kim Taehyung, we learned from him." And perhaps that is the most valuable legacy of that day. Not just images that will be remembered, but a changed way of seeing. Kim Taehyung walked away the same way he arrived, calm, polite, and without excess noise. Yet the space he left behind was never truly empty. It was filled with new awareness, with respect, and with the understanding that behind the camera's spotlight, true art is often born in silence.